Okay, so today we'll take a look at the second declension, and so in the first declension, what was the gender of the nouns? No, the gender, feminine. So in the second declension, you will have masculine and neuter. So first declension feminine, yes, there were a few exceptions, but majority were feminine. In the second, you will have masculine as well as neuter. Now quickly let us revise the endings. So let us take the word corona, then genitive would be coronae, dative coronae, accusative singular coronam, and ablative singular would be corona. Now plural, coronae, then genitive plural would be coronarum, dative plural coronis, accusative plural coronas, and ablative coronis. Let us just highlight the endings. Now let's take a look at the second declension, masculine. So if we take the word equus, which means horse, now see in the second declension, it will end with us. So in the dictionary, the word would be given like this: equus, equi, which means horse. So in the dictionary, which two cases are indicated? When you look at the dictionary, when a word is given like this, what is indicated? Which two cases? Nominative and genitive singular. Okay, keep this in mind. This is very important, because when you look in the dictionary and look at the word, this will tell you which declension it belongs to. Because obviously, first declension, second declension, very easy to make out, because one ends with A, the other one ends with US. When we go to the fourth and the fifth, there are many which are similar. So here looking at the nominative and genitive helps in order to distinguish. So let us quickly do this. So accuse, then you have equi in the genitive singular. Dative singular would be equo, accusative would be equum, and ablative would be equo. Plural, you would have equi, genitive plural equorum, then you have dative plural equis, accusative plural equos, and ablative plural equis. Now let us just note these endings. So now what are the similarities that you all see with the endings? In the plural, you see there is more similarity, right? For example, here coronarum becomes orum over here. What is arum in the first declension becomes orum in the second. Is for dative plural and ablative plural remains the same in both the declensions. What changes is in the accusative plural, this as becomes os. Then we see that the genitive singular and nominative plural is the same. Dative singular and ablative singular is the same. In the accusative singular, you had ending with am, here it ends with um. Okay, so these are some of the similarities or something that can help you to remember the endings. Okay, so if we want to make a chart of the endings of the second declension, in the nominative it would end with us, genitive I, dative O, accusative um, ablative O, and the plural nominative ends with I, genitive ends with orum, dative is, accusative os, and ablative is. Okay, so keep this chart fixed in your mind, because the endings will help you to distinguish and also to decline. Okay, so let us take another example now. Let's take a look at the word Deus, Dei, which means God. Okay, so try to solve this one. So before starting, which two cases are indicated here? This is Deus would be nominative singular, Dei nominative plural. Sorry, genitive singular. Okay, so you have nominative singular and genitive singular. Is it done? So nominative singular would be Deus, genitive singular Dei, then dative singular Deo, accusative singular Deum, ablative singular Deo, nominative plural Dei, genitive plural Deorum, dative plural Deis, accusative plural Deos, and ablative plural Deis. Okay, now take another example. This time we'll take a look at the word campus, campi, which means plain or open space. Okay, campus, campi. Okay, done. So nominative singular would be campus, genitive singular campi, dative singular then accusative singular campum, ablative singular campo. Now let's go to the plural. Nominative plural would be campi, genitive plural camporum, dative plural, campis, accusative plural, campos, and ablative would be campis. Okay, so what we have seen is the second declension masculine. But we see that if things were so simple, it would not be Latin, right? So in the second declension masculine also, there are some variations. You will come across words such as vir, viri, which means man. Okay. So now the same ending rule will follow for this also. Let us see how. So as you know, you have nominative singular, genitive singular. So we know what the first two will be. So vir, then genitive singular would be viri. Now what was the ending that we used for dative singular? O. So hence this would be viro. Accusative, the ending was so this would become virum, and ablative it would become viro. Same will apply for the plural. You have, so we know that nominative, genitive singular and nominative plural are the same. Hence, nominative plural would be viri, then genitive ends with orum. So, vir orum. Then you have dative plural ending with is, viris, accusative plural viros, and ablative plural viris. So once again we see there's a same endings are there. So the only clue that it is belonging to the second declension will be vir, viri. Similar to vir, there is also puer, pueri, which means boy. So how can we decline puer? So what would be the nominative singular? Puer as it is. Nominative singular, pueri. Then dative singular, puero. Accusative, puerum, and ablative would be puero. Nominative plural would be pueri. Genitive plural, puer, orum. Dative plural, pueris. Accusative plural, pueros, and ablative plural, pueris. So this is one variation, okay, where only it is ending with R. but follows the second declension. Now still there is another complication or a different type. Let's take a look at the word Ajer or Ager, Agri, which means field. Agriculture comes from this. Okay, so Ager, Agri. So the only difference over here is in the nominative. So nominative we know is Ager. Now genitive singular as it is given here is Agri. What should be dative singular? Should it be agro or should it be agero? Agro. Okay, so we see that only for the nominative singular you will have the E. For the rest the E is dropped in this type. So therefore dative singular would be agro, accusative singular would be agrum, then ablative singular would be agro. Nominative plural same as the genitive singular would be agri, genitive plural agrorum, dative plural agris, accusative plural agros, and ablative plural agris. Okay, so that is why reading it properly in the dictionary is very important. So we see here this E is dropped from the genitive onwards. So only in the nominative singular you will find the E, then the E is dropped and the endings are consistent. So these are the variations that you have in the second declension masculine. Any doubts with this? So now let's just end up by looking at the second declension neuter. So first let's take a look at the word frumentum, frumenti, which means grain. So the only difference here, we'll just have a subtle difference, we'll do the comparison later. So the nominative singular as we know would be frumentum, genitive singular would be frumentum. men, ti. Dative, frumento. Accusative, frumentum. And ablative singular would be frumento. So let's take a look at the plural now. You will have frumenta. Okay, so there's a change here. The plural nominative will not be frumenti, it will be frumenta. Then you have frumentorum, frumentis in the dative plural. Then you have frumenta in the accusative plural and frumentis in the ablative plural. So once again you see here the nominative and the accusative singular will have the same endings. Dative and ablative will have the same endings. Dative and ablative plural also will have the same ending, whereas nominative plural and accusative plural will have the same endings. So if we are to compare so in the masculine, what was the ending for the nominative singular? US. Genitive singular was I. Dative singular was O. Accusative singular was UM. Ablative singular O. Plural, nominative plural would be I. Genitive plural orum. Dative plural is. Accusative plural os. Ablative plural is. Now neuter we said nominative ends with um. Nominative singular ends with um. Genitive singular I. Dative singular O. Accusative singular um. Ablative singular O. Here comes the change. Nominative plural will end with A. Genitive plural again ends with orum. Dative plural ends with is. Accusative plural ends with A. Ablative plural ends with is. So just keep in mind the differences that you have. So only the nominative, singular and nominative plural changes and the accusative plural in the neuter. Let's take another example. This should make it clear. Let's take the word templum, templi, which means temple. Nominative singular would be templum. Manoj, nominative, genitive singular, templi, then dative singular would be templo, accusative templum, ablative let's go to the plural. Nominative plural would be templa, genitive templorum, then you have templis, dative plural, accusative plural templa, and ablative plural templis. Let's do the last one. Let's take donum, doni, which means gift. Nominative singular would be donum, genitive singular doni, dative singular dono, accusative singular donum, ablative singular dono. Nominative plural dona, then genitive plural don orum, dative plural donis, accusative plural donos, ablative plural dona, ablative plural would be donis. Okay, so study these, keep in mind the endings, because next what we'll be doing is the adjectives of the first and second declension. So in that you have to know all the first, second masculine and second neuter together. Okay, so thank you.